Thank you for inviting me to such a august gathering of the members of Project Management Institute of Bangladesh. Yeah, you are the true kind of, the saviors. If you are good, if project management is good, Bangladesh is good. So, I really thank Mr. Rafal Hassan for inviting me to do this, to say something on the blockchain concepts and applications. He introduced me, a very kind introduction. I've been in this industry, in the IT industry for over 35 years, starting in the UK and then in Bangladesh. I was a programmer, started my programming life in British American Tobacco in Southampton. Well, as an industrial placement student, I did a thick sandwich course at Bradford University, and the third year was at British American Tobacco in Southampton. So there I started my programming career. I did actually programming assignments on some statistical tests. I came to Bangladesh in '83 November. I'm a chartered accountant. I started off as a student of chartered accountancy in the UK with Arthur Young, now Ernst Young, and then I got my qualification in Bangladesh. So I've been in this industry for a long time, and I have traversed both on IT and of course financial and accounting, but more on IT. I was a programmer in the early days, in a software project manager, and of course now consulting. I have been researching and speaking on blockchain from end of 2017. My first was in the CAG office, Comptroller and Auditor General office. And so far, I have, delivered to about 35 places, including the Cabinet Division, including ICAB, IIAB, all other professional bodies as well, and of course in the Ministry of ICT, Startup Bangladesh. So I'm really very interested in this technology because I've been a programmer. So I'm now the managing director of the Computers Limited, small but old company. We've got a blockchain academy of research. Now, I'm also a founder member of BCS and BASIS, as Mr. Rafal Hassan mentioned. And of course, I'm a Mirzapur ex-Cadet College and Cadet College Club Limited member. And I've got my presence in Facebook and LinkedIn. And of course, my hobby is, singing and playing guitar. And so, as he mentioned. Okay, now the framework for this presentation will be on these 7 topics. Firstly, I will talk about project management and blockchain, our redeemers, our saviors. I passionately believe that technology has boon and bane, but project management is also a profession which needs to really rise up and actually, this world is beset with problems, and the problems are rooted in management and of course in project management. So I'll talk about that. Then I will talk about the predicament in the digital world. We have had our, the PCs came along, internet came along, all kinds of digital revolution has happened. But there are, difficulties. These predicaments in the digital world, I'll explain. Then I'll explain blockchain primer and concepts and a distributed ledger technology on which blockchain is based. Then I'll talk about a little bit about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, which are applications of blockchain. And then, of course, there are other blockchain applications. Blockchain isn't quite restricted to cryptocurrency. Blockchain is used in other areas, in every area you can think of. Any transaction area, any coordination area, any problem where coordination is required, where transaction, where information has to be shared, where the visibility is required. So we'll talk about the global blockchain market, the blockchain uses. I'll touch upon few areas: supply chain, education, IoT, Internet of Things. IoT and blockchain kind of live together, and they can really do wonders. But I'll have some really applications show you. Smart contract is a feature of blockchain, which is extremely important in project management. Of course, blockchain applications in identity and music. And of course, then I'll talk about the blockchain and project management kind of togetherness, how they correspond to each other, and what the future project manager and project manager PMO has to be. They have to be blockchain for IR. When I talk about for IR, fourth industrial revolution, industry 4.0, in which, technologies like AI and other, machine learning, deep learning, I'll talk a little bit about that, all come together to actually enable us to become a better managed society. An epilogue will talk about the relevance of Bangladesh and why should we embrace blockchain in Bangladesh. So to begin with, project management and blockchain, our redeemers. Some redeemer, of course, it's like some faith healer, but it's like a savior. You see, project management is so important. I'll talk about that here. It is a well-known fact. I know about software project management. A lot of them fail. They're cost overrun, underscoped, and then delayed, and that happens everywhere. So there is a tremendous need for us to make project management good, successful, right on time. So right technology adoption. Technology also comes with boon and bane. If you adopt the wrong technology, then you can not really achieve your results, your goals. So right technology adoption is extremely important, can change that. I make a very bold proclamation that blockchain is the difference between vanity digitization and sanity digitization. Vanity means, of course, there is a lot of promise, but it does not deliver. And example is, data is very insecure. From the day computers came about to this day, data security is a big issue. And sanity digitization means a digitization where an individual, an uninitiated person who doesn't know about technology can depend on technology. If I buy a car, and if it is a dependable car, then I am happy. But if I buy a car and which breaks down every month, then it's not the car automobile is not helping me. So digitization, digital world, digital transformation will only help you if it is the right kind of digitization. So blockchain is the difference, between vanity digitization and sanity digitization, meaning I'll explain that, later on. It is not a technology itself. It is a foundational technology. It's an infrastructure. Soon you will find blockchain in everywhere and you won't even know. So it's a foundational, it's a revolution technology. It's a truth technology. Why? Because, you see, we are beset with fake and fact, across the world. Digital systems, whether it is giving you the right answer, Facebook and Twitter and other things. So blockchain is a truth technology. It enhances, it actually inherently a truth securing technology. And it is also a freedom technology. Why freedom? Because people always want to be free. You see, of course, it has been the quest of humankind to set themselves free. But, all kinds of control, power, centralization, and then breaking down the centralization happened over time. It's like a process which has gone on and on. But again, the centralization has become so strong. Blockchain gives you the power to become free with technology, So the point I'm trying to make here, blockchain and ICT enable, information and communication technology enable PM is the answer. Project managers are extremely important, good project managers. And why? Because, project manager encompasses, it is a need everywhere, like ICT. ICT is no longer a technology, it is a way of life. It is all pervasive. You could be a garment company, you could be a human resource company, you all use IT. It's not just software company and hardware company or ICT companies. Accounting, all kinds of companies are ICT companies. So ICT is all pervasive. PM, project, program, and portfolio. Many projects program, many program portfolio is all pervasive. Everywhere, country, corporations, everywhere, there's a need for good project management. And software is eating the world. You have to accept that. I think, it was this statement was I can't remember the name, but he said it. I just borrowed it. It is true. Software is, like, for example, Dubai, they have a blockchain-based governance where, blockchain smart contracts will do all the things. Like you see in the airport of some countries, there are no human beings. So software, if it does it more efficiently, we have to let it do the work. And for IIR, artificial intelligence, machine learning is machine learns itself. Deep learning is like neural, like a child learns, we can make the machine learn. IoT is Internet of Things. Big data is, data which was text and, audio, video, unstructured, all data becoming explosion of data. That's big data. 3D printing is making life very easy. I mean, there is an African country in which they're using 3D printing to build schools, 3D printing in hours, in a day. And, of course, you are in a hospital. If you have a heart, if you have a kind of, angiogram and angioplasty, whatever, they can, using a 3D printer, they can print a stent easily. So all this virtual reality, augmented reality are also, reality augmented is on the, I mean, it's if like if you are, training somebody on project management, then virtual reality, augmented reality comes into force. Quantum computing, today we have binary computing. Quantum computing will be, so, I mean, I mentioned this because, for IRR is bringing emphasis on this, are transforming the world. And what does all this do? They churn out data, churn out more and more data. IoT churn out tons of data. But, you have data, kind of excessive data, explosion of data. But who gives authenticity of data? Blockchain gives authenticity of data. So that's why blockchain can humanize the systems. The project management, the crying need for present times is ethical, transparent management. Our country is not poor in terms of money, but poor in terms of management. So we need to have ethical, successful project management. Because, project management is something which begins and ends. I mean, these are the main issues, from Padda Bridge to COVID-19 issues. So PM and PMO must embrace right technology to achieve this. The predicaments in the digital world, the difficulties that we have in the present digital world. Internet today is information at fingertips, which is fine, but short on authenticity. You don't know whether the information is right or wrong. The digital world today, it collects data. Every second, mammoth data are being collected by, Facebooks and Googles, everywhere. Whatever you do, use your phone. I'm using this. Data is being collected, but we cannot securing data. Data like, the Facebooks, Equifax, the hacked. So data hacking is happening all the time. And long on collecting user data. My data is being collected by everyone, but I'm not the owner of the data. My data is being used to give to the advertisement agents who then push advertisements without my permission. Data is the new currency, new oil. So blockchain actually has a solution to this. Okay, then the digital world today, I mean, you don't know whether at the end of the, who is he? There are fake videos. I mean, I'm talking to you, technology is here to exactly make a video of me talking to you without even you knowing that it's not me. So short on identity protection. So digital world today does not yet do identity protection. In 1993, somebody called Steiner, he actually did a meme, a cartoon. On the internet, nobody knows you are a dog. I mean, the anonymity of it. And so that is the meme. It was published in the New Yorker, I think, long time ago, 1993. It's a very famous cartoon. Okay, the digital world today is still centralized. You see, I'll just stop for a moment here. If you trace the history of computers, say from the 40s, 50s, big mainframes in Bradford University, I had mainframe computers, and mainframe computers used to be centralized. You have terminals. In Buet, we had this kind of mini computers which had terminals, and previously they had punched cards and all that. So it was all centralized. People used to submit jobs. Then came the PC, the IBM PC, the Apple PC. The PC then was a liberating thing. PC gave power, intelligence to the end user. But then we found that, we cannot, we are in, well, isolated. The accounting department, the sales department, the purchase department, all are kind of duplicating the data on their own PCs. So we then connected the PCs. We connected the PCs through peer-to-peer network, which did not work so well, but through server-based networks. So from centralized to decentralized through PCs, but again to centralized, because centralization is easy. So server-based PCs, intelligence on the user end, so still centralized. And now then came internet. Internet is a wonderful thing. But after the internet revolution, internet to web 2.0, the Facebooks came, the Google came, and all that came. So all the data is being now centralized. Your Uber, your Airbnb, they're all centralized. Somebody is actually, data is being collected somewhere. So these are all centralized systems. Short on empowering the user. Our data is being used to to generate income, to generate whatever, but we are not getting the benefit of it. But we are freely using it. So it says if the product is free, then you are the product. If Facebook is free, so you are the product, because your data is being collected and then your data is being used for their so. And blockchain concepts, let me now turn to this. It will be a discussion at a conceptual level. Of course, blockchain can be very technical, but if you take away this, and of course, taking away this is not easy. At the basics plaguing the world is full of unreliable information. Unreliable information resulting from miscoordination, this, that, and other. Blockchain technology can address that. It does give you reliable record keeping. That is the key. So whatever you do, you are a project manager, you are sharing information, you are sending reports, you are maintaining backup data, task completion, and supply chain management, education, manufacturing, land, whatever. Record keeping is extremely important. Among transaction oriented, any application which is transaction oriented needs blockchain like technology. It is a very old concept, very easy to understand. One to many. It is the theme of blockchain. What is one to many? And blockchain is an age-old community-based idea, internet connector. If you imagine, well, I'll explain this statement now. If you imagine a village, say long time ago, well, Abhaypara, maybe there is a name village called this, and there is no matabbar here, no leader here, and they have no record keeping system. And so say maybe 200 people, and they all are. This is still happening in our villages and in many villages across the world. Of course, they all know the information about the village. Who owns which land? Who owns which cow? Which cow belongs to whom? And if someone sells something to else, then everyone knows about it. There is no secret here. There is no one person which controlling all the transactions. They all depend on synchronous common knowledge, one truth. So they all know the same thing. If one goes away, dies, the other 199 people know. This is the basis of blockchain idea. Now, this is easily tenable, easily possible in a small village, 100 people, 200 people, maybe. But if you talk about, the billions of population, 6 billion people, 7 billion people, so how can you do that? We are an internet connected world, and blockchain gives you that through distributed ledger technology, that kind of technology concept, which makes that possible. I mean, if you have physical proximity, you deal with cash. If I buy from my local shop, I give him cash. But if I have to buy from somebody in the UK, I don't know, I have to send money or do LC or whatever. So there comes the intermediaries. Cash doesn't need any intermediary. So if you can imagine this global village now can be connected through internet and through the right technology, then we can go back to our little village cash transaction basis and everybody knowing everything. So that is the basis of blockchain idea. I gave an article, I sent an article to Rafal Hassan for distributing to you, which gives you, very, very easy to understand what is the blockchain idea. So blockchain keeps data in blocks. Where did the name came from? Blocks are blocks, block of information. So block forms a linked impenetrable chain. These blocks are kind of chained. So one block is chained to the next block, to the next block. I'll explain that. So let me, as simplified as possible, I go inside a block. Inside a block, there are transaction data. Somebody sends money to... Sorry, just keep me... আচ্ছা মোর্শেদ, আমি একটা প্রেজেন্টেশন দিচ্ছি জুমে, পরে কথা বলবো। হ্যাঁ, I'm sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, sure. Sorry. My iPad was linked to my phone. I'll just do some airplane mode. Okay, fine. I think it won't come. Right. So the block is a place where transaction data resides. Somebody sending money to someone else, or receiving money, or it could be any transaction, a double entry, or even a sentence. I promise to give you something, sending an invoice. So any transaction data, it could be land records, it could be anything. Now, this transaction data resides within that block, and this block has, from the previous block, the identity of the previous block. This identity is not, it is the key to blockchain. It is not a number, sequential number like 1, 2, 3, or any random digit. This identity is computed. It is computed through a cryptographic hash. What does cryptography mean? The crypto word means secret. There is a mathematical formula through which, if you put the data, out comes a fixed length of digit, which is the ID of the block. Now, this previous ID comes through to the block, then this transaction data together with the transaction data, another formula is run, and the identity of this block is then found out. These two identities are, very important in blockchain. So what happens next is this. There are 3 blocks here. One block, first block is called Genesis block on the left-hand side. Second block, third block, the 3 blocks. The 3 blocks make a chain. How does the chain kind of connect? It is the block identity. The first block does not have any previous block. This block has an identity in the middle row, x1, y1. This identity is stamped on the block 2. You can see that. And similarly, this identity plus the transaction data S and stacker 1000B is put through some cryptographic function, as I mentioned earlier, and out comes a number, a hash. It is called a hash. Hash is a total number, meaningless number, but it represents the data. For example, if I send 3 cards, one containing number 10, second 20, and 30. Now, if I send you the total of that, 30 plus 20, 50, 60, another card 60, then the recipient, when they receive the 3 cards, will also receive the total card. He will calculate the total, and if they equate, then he will say, yeah, I have got all your cards. So hash total is a meaningless number, meaningless string of digits, but it represents the data. So the second block has got this identity x1, y1, which is there. Now, second block has a transaction, B sent to to C. Then these 2 are combined, and out comes a new identity, 9845. This identity is then transformed or planted, timestamp into the third block. Now, all these, I'm showing it very simply. There are little more complications here, but so if you imagine this 3 block chain, if somebody wants to change the data in second block, then this identity will change, 9845W. Now, because it has already been recorded in the third block, it won't match. If it doesn't match, this change will not be allowed. So so this is the chain. I mean, I'm saying public or private. I'll explain public or private little later on. Public means anybody can be a participant in the chain. Private means only private known people can be participant in the chain. What is immutable? Immutable means you cannot change things. So here, whatever I explained before, I'm explaining again now. If somebody wants to tamper or change the second block, B sends Taka 332C, then of course the ID will change automatically, but it won't correspond to the next block ID. So it won't be allowed. So this is how this is made immutable. And what is distributed? This chain of, of course, there are a chain of 3 blocks. It could be 3,000, it could be 30,000. It is all the ABC are the participants in the chain. They are called the nodes. So if you have a project management scenario, and if it is a cross-organizational, then each organization may have number of nodes. So all these nodes will have the same copy of the chain, same copy of the true state of affairs of the state of affairs. So everybody has the same thing. That is why it is called distributed. The ledger, this is a ledger, it is distributed. Distributed meaning everybody has a replica of the same thing. Now, there are technical questions you might ask. How is it kept? Why doesn't it becoming so big? But I will not, because if I want to explain in 1.5 hours, so I'll have to give you the basics. So we have seen a block, we have seen a chain, and now we see the chain is distributed. What is decentralized? It is the same thing. ABC all have the same chain, and the decentralized is the peer-to-peer on the right-hand side. The centralized system is on the left-hand side. Server-based in the middle left is centralized. P2P, peer-to-peer network is decentralized. So decentralized and then distributed, immutable, and of course, it is the feature of blockchain. So there are 4 legs of blockchain. Consensus driven. Whenever any updation is happening, I didn't explain that. This is a protocol rule algorithm is there, which allows consensus to be built to do any updation. So if I'm in a project management scenario and there are 10 kind of nodes which are there, they have visibility into the whole system, and if any updation is done by the second kind of node, whatever, or second person, it has to be accepted, validated, agreed by everyone before it gets updated. So everybody has a real, true, synchronized picture. There is no mismatch. Immutable means it cannot be changed. Decentralized, of course, decentralized is not completely decentralized. I mean, I'll explain that, but as decentralized as possible. And distributed, here I must add the word disintermediated. Many intermediations which are not necessary are disintermediated. And distributed means, the whole chain is replicated. So what I'm saying is, information is added when everyone agrees. Consensus driven. Information is safe when no one can change it. Once it is there, no one can change it. Any new addition has to be an add-on. Information is secure when everyone knows. It is like the Abhaypara the village. Everyone has the same information. But in an internet connected world, you cannot have the manual system of 200 people because it won't work. You have to have a system which is technologically sound. That is the blockchain system. Okay, so this is the diagram of disintermediation. Intermediaries which are not necessary can be eliminated. So what is the big deal in blockchain? It is the certainty of data. You see, there are many terms here. Blockchain, distributed ledger technology, cryptography. I mentioned about cryptography, the way information is sent secretly. No adversary can see. Smart contract, I will explain that. Any contract, it's a code, it's a computer program code. Like, for example, your FDR interest gets deducted automatically. It's a smart contract. If you go to a vending machine, put 50 taka, 100 taka, you get a Coke. That is smart contract. block ID, previous block ID, hash function, hash as I mentioned, mathematical algorithm, proof of work. I mean, I will explain that when it comes, but it's not very essential now. Time stamping, the time nonce is number used once. I may have a chance to explain this. Double spend problem is something I'll explain. Peer-to-peer, Internet of Value, one-way function, protocol, secure by design, Byzantine. All this, I'm just throwing these terms to you, not to confuse you, but to tell you that the essence of it is certainty. So blockchain gives you, so as an uninitiated user, uninitiated person, if I know that I'm using a technology which is give me certainty, data cannot be changed, protected. I mean, long time ago, in my early days, we used to do auditing of computer-based accounting systems. Of course, it has progressed much, but we used to say computer is a blockbuster. I mean, well, auditing is a function which throws visibility into the system from cradle to grave, from beginning to end. All the processes are kind of seen, and so. But if you come to a computer, then you do not see the inside. The program runs and some output comes. So it is a black box. But what blockchain is doing is turning the black box into a white box, because it is giving you the confidence, that authentication, confidence, that data security confidence. So blockchain, I mean, it's not a very good simile, but Binishrutar Mala, here there's a bit of romanticism here. There is no Shruta in the Mala, in the chain, but it is love which binds the chain. In blockchain, we don't have very visible. It is the cryptographic hash is the binding glue. So cryptographic hash it is not a new thing. It was there from before, but it was used to to bring out this blockchain feature. So blockchain is our Binishrutar Mala. Now blockchain, of course, Internet of Value. I'll explain that. You see, from time immemorial, people had concentrated power and also the gap. For example, before the printing press, all the churches, high-ups, the anointed people, they used to have the knowledge, the Bible. When printing press came, it was printing Bibles. Everyone had a copy of it. So the knowledge gap was diminished. In steam engine, in the first industrial revolution, horsepower, manpower, and then of course, you couldn't hear, there was a gap. So the steam engine, the water steam engine, this came about to fill the power gap. And of course, internet, before internet, there was information gap. I mean, if we didn't have internet, we didn't have Google. I mean, I wouldn't be able to put this thing very easily. Internet search gave me a lot of information. So information gap has been filled up by internet. But you see, I cannot send you my certificate on the internet and saying it is authentic. I cannot send you 100 taka to buy something on the internet. I cannot sell my I cannot just send my land deed and you just take it and all the face of it and you accept it and then you pay me. It is not possible. But this is being done, this is made possible through blockchain. Internet of Value is coming forth. So we had information gap, but Internet of Value, internet in which just as I send you information, if I am an employee, I want a job, I can send my all credentials and you'll have no qualms in accepting it, because you will know all the credentials are authentic, all my experiences are authentic. So that is the faith blockchain will give. So blockchain will give us a worldwide ledger. We have World Wide Web, a worldwide ledger. I will talk about ledger in a minute. So it turns Internet of Information to Internet of Value. And there are two types of blockchain. So, the public and the private. The example of public blockchain is, the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, which came about in 2008, 2009. Ethereum is another blockchain with a smart contract. These are public. Why? Because anybody can become a participant there. If I want to join Bitcoin, I will be given, permission to buy or sell Bitcoin or whatever, and then, if I join the Bitcoin, I'll have an address, a wallet. I don't need to give my name or anything. It's public. Well, everybody has access to it. It is permissionless. Anyone can join. it is completely decentralized, completely secure. It's very decentralized means it's secure. Why? Because if there are thousands of people, everybody is validating the transaction. So it is secure, but it's slow because it takes time. Okay. There are public and open. If you have a currency, I don't know if you may have heard, Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. It is free and without any government, without any, but countries are now thinking about CBDC, central bank digital currency. China, India, America, US, everybody is, most countries are, talking about it, researching on it. Bangladesh is doing like a currency which is cryptocurrency, but within the country. It could be a Bangladesh cryptocurrency, not just a credit card. Credit card is a representation of our existing legacy system. It's a currency which has no physical presence. Now, if we have a Bangladesh CBDC, then of course it's a public and open. We have to, but if you use blockchain, public blockchain for voting, then it has to be restricted to within the people of Bangladesh. And the private blockchains in which permission, and anyone cannot join in. It is a permission. Everyone has to, identify themselves and apply to join. Hyperledger is a IBM, and then it's an open. It's a name of a private blockchain. R3 Corda is also a private blockchain. Quorum by JP Morgan. I'm just these names, just a few examples. But there's a permission. You cannot join this chain unless you have permission to join it. Where are they used? Mostly project management will be using these. Consortium, industry players control, only permitted. It can be centralized, decentralized, less secure and faster. Private blockchains sometimes are not really decentralized, but it can be decentralized. If there are 10 nodes which can share information, it is somewhat decentralized. If there are 100 nodes in a private blockchain, it is more decentralized. More you have participants in the chain, less risky is it. So more you have chain, more secure. So it's faster if you have so what I'm saying is centralized systems are faster, less secure. One point of vulnerability, but more it is decentralized. For example, if one person knows all the information of the land of Bangladesh, it is less secure, one point of vulnerability. But if everyone knows about the land information, then it is more secure. Private and open, well, government, records. Like, for example, my birth certificate and all that. These are all, I can only see it, but, some, of course, not birth certificate, but there's some private, chain we can be open, because information is everywhere. If I want to, if I want to apply for a passport, then the passport application information will be there. But it can be your tax returns, your military information can be closed. So public chain is permissionless, private chain is permissioned. Blockchain has a trilemma, just like project management has triple constraints, cost, time, scope. And blockchain, it's not exactly the same, but it is blockchain lives within a centralization, decentralization continuum. It lives in because, as I mentioned, if you have a public chain fully open, it is completely decentralized. If you have a private chain, it lives within that centralization, and this total centralization is, like one body, but little decentralization is 2, 3 bodies, 10 bodies. So centralization, decentralization continuum is one. Secure, insecure continuum. More decentralization, more secure. Less decentralization, less secure. And fast slope continuum, if you have decentralization fully, and you go to the extreme end of the decentralization pendulum, it is secure, but it will be slow because you need everybody's agreement before anything gets updated. So there are much innovations going on to address these issues. So this is not a constraint. It is a constraint in technology. Any constraint that you face will have some kind of people will be innovating on it. Now, why the idea is blockchain? The time has come now. You see, blockchain, there were issues. There were many attempts at finding a digital cryptocurrency, but no one could really come up because they couldn't fathom some kind of a blockchain-like technology, and also in an environment where this is practical. Why is it practical? On the left-hand side, you see there is a graph. Gordon Moore is the Intel co-founder. Intel is a chip maker, very big, famous, and so Gordon Moore is a co-founder, and he predicted that the processing power of computers, the chip, the density of transistors within a chip will double every 18 months or 2 years. And so it has done from the 1970s. I mean, in previous days, 1,000, 10,000 transistors, 100,000 maybe transistors, but now there are billions of transistors. Your phone has billions of transistors. So the computing power has kind of, jumped exponentially. And you see, compounding is a very, compounding is tremendous. There is a story, the person who wanted from a king, he did something good. The king said, so what do you want? He said, give me a chessboard. You put one grain on the first board, and then there are 64 kind of things. So you double the grain number. He said, oh, this is so easy. But he didn't quite realize the power of compounding. When it comes to 264, it became such a whole lot of grains that his kingdom did not have it. Compounding is a very tremendous thing. If it works for you, so the computing power has compounded exponentially. So has, on the right hand side, data, big data, data science has come up. Big data, lots of data are there. As I mentioned to you, petabytes, we don't call it now in gigabytes, megabytes, gigabytes. It's tremendously all data being collected. So a lot of data being digitalized. So digital data, big data, computing power, it has ushered in the possibility of blockchain. It was there from 2008, 2009. It was kind of flat on the middle graph, you see. From 2017, it shot up. So it is the popularity of the search for blockchain shot up. So you can see the interest in blockchain also is very new. So what is the blockchain then? It is a concept of community. It's a ledger. A ledger is a book of records. A book is not a book of poem or book of, ledger as an accountant, wherein economic activity is, the ledger keeps record of debtors ledger, sales ledger, this ledger. So a ledger, blockchain is so what is a ledger? A ledger is and this ledger you can only write on it and you can only say it. You cannot update it or delete it. It is an asset administration tool. So what is an asset? Cash is an asset. Your land is an asset. These are physical assets, but you can have digital asset. A certificate can be a digital asset. Your music can be digital asset, or your physical asset can have a digital asset replica. So you can then actually do blockchain transactions on it. I'll show you. You can have a chicken digitized. You can have a digital equivalent of a chicken in a supply chain to see the whole process of how a chicken gets into sausages and all. It is a technology based on cryptography. As I mentioned, crypto means secret. Cryptography, the science of hiding things from adversaries, and distributed ledger technology. This ledger is replicated to all people. So blockchain is an error-free, super audit-friendly. I'm an auditor. If blockchain really comes through, auditors will have a super time. It's very easy to, and the three things: traceability, provenance, credentialing. In supply chain and in project management as well. Traceability of goods like COVID-19, whatever medicines are coming, we have to maintain the temperature, the storage conditions. Provenance, it has come from the right source. Credentialing, the certificate that you are giving, it's the right one. So this is everywhere. Every exercise you think government does or a corporate does, if it is complex, these become extremely important. So tracking, traceability, provenance, credentialing are the hallmarks of blockchain, and so we must know about it in a well-informed way. So now, some of you may think about, if you're not even a programmer, the traditional database is, I'll explain that, versus blockchain. Blockchain has a database, of course, with a difference, but not all databases are blockchain. I mean, database, if my information wants to be kept in a file, my name is Atiq-e-Rabbani, I have an NID card, my address, maybe my birth date and all that. These are called records or rows, and all these elements are called fields. So columns, if you have a tabular, then the rows it keeps
Hello, I cannot hear anything. Is the speaker audible to others?
I think also I can.
No,
also
I think
connect.
we have lost some communication. Just wait, and I'm just
Sure.
checking it. Rabbani bhai, we cannot hear you. I think we have lost his connection. Let me check. Please wait. Yeah, we are not listening from you. বুঝতে পারলাম না, আমরা তো আর শুনতে পাচ্ছি না, মানে শুনতেও পাচ্ছি। ব্লকচেন ভার্সেস ডেটাবেজ পর্যন্ত যে আটকে গেছি আর কি। I think there is a problem from his end. So just please wait for another minutes. So he's rejoining. I have contacted with him.
sorry, I don't know what happened. তাহলে আপনি আবার একটু আমাকে স্ক্রিন করতেন, আমি
I already made co-host. So
আচ্ছা sure.
Technical glitch happens.
আচ্ছা, আপনারা কি দেখছেন আমার স্ক্রিন?
Yeah, we can see your screen now, and we are.
আমরা ছিলাম blockchain versus আপনার
database. Sure. I'm going there. যেখানে ছিলাম, জি। তো ওখানে আমি আমি এখানে ছিলাম। সো মানে ব্লকচেন ইজ আ ফাউন্ডেশনাল টেকনোলজি, অল দিস। এখানে আপনার অন দ্য, আমি যেটা লাস্টে বলেছিলাম, মানে ডাটাবেস এন্ড ব্লকচেন এক্সিস্টিং লেগাসি ডাটাবেস এর মধ্যে রোজ থাকে, কলামস থাকে, ওটাকে ফাইল বলা হয়। অনেকগুলি ফাইল নিয়ে ডাটাবেস হয়। সেই ডাটাবেস মধ্যে আবার এই ফাইলে আপনার লিংক করা থাকে। ইউ ক্যান হ্যাভ relational database. If I have an ID and my name and my permanent information, birth date, whatever, then if I have some variable information, we can be linked. So this is the legacy database. Now blockchain keeps data in a block, which are block. Once it is in the block and it is validated, no one can change it. There is a term called CRUD. CRUD means you can create, you can read, you can update, you can delete. In database terminology, databases have CRUD facility, but blockchain, the ledger, does not have update and deletion facility. It has only create and read. So, this blockchain is kept in blocks, and the blocks are changed through cryptographic hashes. The cryptographic hashes, as I mentioned, is a function which represents, it's a hash, is a function. It's a fixed digit number which represents all the data in it. I mean, if you have a page of data, if you have 10 pages of data, if you have a painting, the hash will be a fixed length. So it is easy to keep the hash. I mean, I'll explain that a little more. So the next slide is, of course, I'm just reproducing the block in the right-hand side, bottom, the chain on the left-hand side, bottom, and on the top left, we have this distributed chain. All the chain consists of the three blocks here. So I'm saying, distributed ledger technology, a ledger which is distributed to everyone. I'll explain that a little bit later on. Tamper-proof system of record. No one can tamper with it. Authenticity, data security, decentralization, no middleman, disintermediation. Well, as far as possible. Privacy protection, meaning that our privacy will be protected. Self-sovereign ID. My ID will be with me. No one can actually use my data. The user owning data. I mean, this is a technology which is coming through now. If I want to go someplace and they only need to know if I'm over 18 or not, then they don't have to know my address, my name, or anything. So this is called, zero proof knowledge. It's something called, you only give the only amount of data that is required for you to go there. So you don't have to give everything else. So user owning data can do that. User empowerment and rules without, rulers, smart contracts. If project management has some rules which needs to be followed, you can use smart contract through which it can be done automatically without anybody's intervention. So, for example, somebody from outside has to supply you something. If the supply is good, everything is set, then, the smart contract will actually automatically initiate the payment. So, blockchain uses distributed ledger technology. I'll explain that now. We already know about double entry ledger. I'm an accountant, over 600 years old. The Luca Pacioli, he was a Franciscan friar, a mendicant. A mendicant is like a beggar. They are very scholastic people. They did not have any earthly possessions, because earthly possessions give people ego, and then they focus in a different way. So they used to have no possessions. They used to beg and live on alms. But they are scholarly people. He taught mathematics to Leonardo da Vinci. And in 1494, he published Summa de Arithmetica Geometria, and that contained double entry accounting system. So from the 1500s, we have been releasing that. But this double entry system has been a great advantage, great leap forward from single entry accounting. It meant that, your accounts, your trial balance, your accounts were kept in a as error-free manner as possible. But even then, it hasn't stopped Toshiba from 1 to 7. These are all highly famous, reputed companies. Toshiba, Satyam, Lehman Brothers, AIG, WorldCom, Tyco, Enron. So no matter what double entry, no matter the wonderful accountants, no matter the wonderful auditing profession. Still, we did not have Toshiba declared false profits. Satyam boosted revenue. Lehman Brothers, they recorded an asset which was worthless. These are called creative accounting, in the negative way. AIG booked loans as revenue. WorldCom, they underreported by capitalizing rather than expensing. If you capitalize 10 lakh taka and then you depreciate over 10 years, then every year the charge to profit will be 1 lakh. But if it is an expense, then you have to charge 10 lakh taka in the single year. So if you capitalize, then you underreport the cost. So WorldCom did that, well, unfortunately, and of course it was fake profit declaration. Tyco unapproved loans, Enron kept debts off balance sheet. So no matter what we did, this double entry ledger has not prevented us from having this. So the ledger through times, manual, centralized, middleman, very limiting, untenable. Manual ledgers are no more. The ledgers we have, nominal ledgers. If you're an accountant, there are certain books that you maintain. And the digital world, still using that same thing, but in a digital way. If it is a spreadsheet, if it is a software, if it is a ERP, if it is SAP, if it is Oracle Financials, if it is this, that, and other, still we're using double entry ledger. What blockchain does, what Bitcoin did, is to give us a distributed ledger technology application. So here, if I am, I'll explain that in the following slide. But here the ledger is shared with everyone. So there is no question of any difference. If I'm a seller and buyer, my ledger is my ledger, your ledger is your ledger. Only after auditing or reconciliation can we reconcile our books. But when it becomes very complex, then reconciliation cannot happen. So it could be through the intentional or unintentional choice of the accountant. So distributed ledger means everybody agrees to the transaction and then only it gets recorded in the ledger. And that ledger is accessible, replicated to all nodes. So the legacy individual double entry ledgers is like this. If A is a supplier, B is a customer, D is a bank, and C is another customer or supplier, then anything A and B does, A supplies this to B, and then of course, C supplies something to B, and there's a bank here. And now everything gets recorded in their own ledger. At the end of the year, this accountant of A and accountant of B do not share the information. So everything is, in their own books. And if the accountant dies or accountant makes a mistake, so if A says, I have sent you an invoice for 1,000 taka, B records it in his book as 100 taka, A has no knowledge. If B accountant goes away and a new accountant comes along, I'm doing a simple thing, but it can be very complex. So B says, no, I have got only 100 taka recorded in my book. A says, no, I have given you 1,000 taka invoice. Then, reconciliation needs to be done. Debtors verification needs to be done. Bank reconciliation needs to be done. Bank, of course, but in the distributed ledger, in the open ledger, everyone, A sends taka 100 to B, B sends taka 50 to C, and whatever happening, everything gets recorded in a giant spreadsheet, giant ledger, which is viewable by everyone, authenticated by everyone, validated by everyone. So after it is done, then no one has any qualms, no one has any disputes. It is signed, sealed, and delivered. So A cannot dispute now that, I did not send you 100 taka. I sent you 1,000 taka. So this is the ledger, which is then replicated over all the nodes. This is the distributed ledger. Now, Bitcoin, the blockchain has this facility. The ledger, the information, in a manual system, this is impossible. But in an electronic system, in a system where blockchain has a cryptographic hash technology, this is possible. So this is the think that you didn't need any reconciliation, no data circularization. So notarized means, somebody authorizes, somebody approves it, somebody says it's true. He sees the original, gets a stamp, So blockchain is an open ledger replicable over nodes. It's notarized, real time. So Satoshi Nakamoto, I'll come to that. He is a person. No one knows who is he or she or a group of person. He, wrote the Bitcoin white paper and the Bitcoin, he introduced, not invented, but he introduced blockchain and distributed ledger technology. So we can say Satoshi Nakamoto is Luca Pacioli of our times. And the blockchain is internet of value, as I mentioned earlier. Just like information can be sent without double spend. You see, double spend as a currency, you have to control double spend. If I have 10 taka, I give somebody 10 taka, I don't have 10 taka in me. If I write a check for 1,000 taka and I write a check for 1,000 taka to somebody else, my bank has only 1,000 taka, my bank will dishonor the second check, no double spend. Now, if I have so this is how you control double spend through a central body. But if you do not have a central body, if you do not have an authority who checks without double spending, if I have one digital taka and 10 digital taka, I send it to someone through an internet email and somebody else gets the same email. So I only have 10, but how can I send it to two people? So blockchain protects against that. So you must take blockchain's calling. All the technicalities, forget about it. This gives us reliable record keeping. That is the core need of our times, core need of your times, because all project managers, they need that. Blockchain is a freedom, brings equity. It becomes, small people, big people. On the left-hand side, the small guy cannot sit the game with one tool. So it brings equity. And blockchain can actually, because it is internet connected, it is token. What is a token? If you fly airlines, you get airline miles. If you shop in Shopno or whatever, you get, reward points. So, the economy can be token based. If if you use less of a car, and if it can be recorded, and then you are a better person. So it can be, people's behavior can be changed through technology, because people behave well when they get, rewarded. In schools, you reward people and they do better. In society as well. If it is a bank, if you find a good borrower, you reward him. So blockchain is technology which can give you tokenomics. Token based, what is token? Token is a kind of a value that you can put for good stuff. I will not go into that. So it can be an incentive based economy. So blockchain cryptocurrency is the basis on which Bitcoin cryptocurrency has been ushered in. Bitcoin is an application of blockchain. Satoshi Nakamoto, he is the creator of blockchain. No one knows him. He's still there, he or she or a group of person, but he is anonymous. Pseudonym is Satoshi Nakamoto. Lehman Brothers collapsed, which is the giant of giant organizations, centralized body. It's like a god of 158-year-old. They collapsed on September 15, 2008. Soon after, the Satoshi Nakamoto came out with a Bitcoin #2 peer-to-peer electronic cash system. He called it a cash system. Cash does not need intermediaries. Cash does not need clearing. Cash does not need any centralized authority. I pay you cash, you give me service. It created the world's first peer-to-peer decentralized monetary system. So first manifestation of blockchain. Internet-based money enabled online payments without a third party. No bank is required, no government is required. And it has no physical representation. It was not issued by any government or third party. No one knows who Bitcoin, who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Donald Trump, in his inimitable way, he once said, "I'm Satoshi Nakamoto." So Satoshi Nakamoto, I don't know what kind of a person or a leader he is, but I just put this slide in. There are many kinds of leaders, but Lao Tzu, a philosopher, Chinese, the wise people, they said a leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. A leader is someone who catalyzes people to do the right thing, and then he disappears, and that right thing helps the whole society. The myth buster. Many people think equally that, they think Bitcoin is blockchain. And of course, there is a lot of, allergy here. Many countries, including Bangladesh, they have, banned Bitcoin. They are very allergic to Bitcoin. I made a presentation to the cabinet secretary where the governor of Bangladesh Bank was there. And he actually, of course, praised my presentation. And of course, in the conversation, I said, of course, rules of, regulatory, of course, all kinds of issues have to be looked into, but you cannot stop researching on cryptocurrency because the world is going towards that. And soon you will find that if you do not know enough about it, then of course we'll be at a disadvantage. But Bitcoin is not blockchain. Like email is not internet. Email is an application of internet. So Bitcoin is a blockchain application. So what is Bitcoin? Is electronic cash. Just like if I have a proximity, if I was, with you in front of me, I could transact in cash, but I cannot transact in cash, you being in America or even somewhere else. So I can, if I use Bitcoin, I can transact with you just like cash. So Bitcoin is electronic cash. Just like cash needs no intermediaries, Bitcoin needs no intermediaries. What is the status? What is the hierarchy? Bitcoin is built on blockchain. Blockchain ensures no double spend. And blockchain is based on distributed ledger technology. What is distributed ledger technology again? The ledger, which is a common ledger, shared ledger, everyone can see, and then they only agree to it when it is updated rightly, and then everyone has a copy of that. So there is no question of reconciliation, no question of dispute, no question of debtor circularization, no question of any other problems later on. In a project management scenario, there are many players, many actors. If it is a distributed ledger technology based project management software, then once it is agreed, it is visible to everyone. Then no one can dispute that, this has not been done, or I said something, I did something which you do not know, lack of coordination. So all these things will go away. So blockchain applications. Now I will, 8:44. Well, how much time do I have, Fal? 7:30, 8:30?
You can continue.
It should be 9 by our time, so we can continue till 9:10.
Okay, fine. Okay. So blockchain applications, right? Okay. So I'll talk about the blockchain market and blockchain uses. Global blockchain market is tremendous, from $3 billion in 2020 to $40 billion in 2020. That is the projection. Compound annual growth rate is 67.3%. This graph shows that. Blockchain has been a tremendous, the blockchain market is a growing need for reliable, secure, tamper-proof digital systems, as I mentioned earlier. So blockchain has come with inherently secure, immutable, authentic. And when I mention blockchain, fourth industrial revolution is built on many technologies, including blockchain. As I mentioned earlier, AI, IoT, machine learning, robotic process automation. Robotic process automation is a software robot which can mimic what we do. So, bookkeeping can be eliminated by human beings. So, for our technologies includes blockchain, because blockchain is the kind of glue which gives authenticity to all the data that is happening. So, which countries are innovators in blockchain? China leads, followed by United States, source of innovation and also patent filing. China is big in blockchain, and PCT is Patent Cooperation Treaty. Countries which have, there, so you can see the distribution. Blockchain, the use of blockchain, I say it is only limited by imagination. In this circle, the right-hand one on the right side, record keeping, everything is record, transaction oriented, information sharing, coordination, whatever is required, blockchain can work. So, title records, healthcare, manufacturing, voting can be done so easily through blockchain. You can have but many countries, it's a very politically, sensitive thing. So even United States may not want, full transparent voting system. Digital currency on the right hand side is a big application of blockchain, and digital currency, whether it comes through Bitcoin and public currencies, or central bank digital currencies, which has controlled by a country or bank or something, but it will be based on blockchain. securities market, equity, private markets, debt, crowdfunding. I mean, crowdfunding is another thing. I mean, if you imagine, I mean, I'm lending money to someone else. I need a bank in between to give an authentication that, okay, fine, that person will, repay. But in a blockchain scenario, I mean, no one can fool the system. So if the smart contract, if you do not repay me, probably, your collateral will be automatically encashed, or there'll be algorithm to prevent from doing that. So crowdfunding is something which is coming up now. So in order to get crowdfunding, you need a system which is algorithmically right, which is in blockchain. Derivatives, share certificate, itself is a derivative, derived value from there are many derivatives. Escrow, wages, digital rights, these are all intellectual. Escrow is something, I mean, I have a software, so the bank has a kind of escrow on it. If I close down, then the client can take my software source code. The wager is a kind of a bet. So, if I bet that Abahoni and, somebody will win, smart contract gets a feedback from outside. If he wins, then you get my money. Digital rights or, IP rights. Okay. So blockchain can also ensure good governance and democracy. We want this country to be, SDG goals by 2030, leave no one behind. That can only happen if government has good governance, and good governance cannot be done without technology and the right technology, and democratically right technology. And right technology is blockchain based. I've talked about this to our finance minister, to the finance secretary, to our finance officers in all kinds of government. And I think it does take time because government, but there are many countries which are adopting blockchain. I mentioned Dubai. There are other countries, Malta, even our, there are many countries have got many efforts. Civic participation, transparency, accountability, following rule, equitable, consensus-oriented, efficient. These are all characteristics which blockchain can give. And although, there are government, accounting, audit, financial service industry, insurance, supply chain, food safety, counterfeit protection, which is needed in pharmaceutical, drugs, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, education, defense, airlines, aviation industry, real estate, transport, tourism, media marketing, charity, refugees, are they getting the right funds and whatever, cybersecurity, digital identity, voting, fundraising, all this and more. And project management is not management. Project management is pervasive. It is everywhere. You need project management in healthcare, in manufacturing, in education. So project management is everywhere. So, I mean, in this slide, there are 50 blockchain real world use cases. I won't go through them because, I'm sure you'll get a copy of this. But you don't need this. There are many real world use cases of blockchain, from government to identification to mobile payments to insurance. These are all actual stuff done to carbon offsets, enterprise, border control, supply chain. I'll have more details on supply chain, healthcare, shipping, real estate, to energy, land registry, advertising, border control, journalism, fake news or good news, energy, tourism, fishing, music, and enterprise. In music, the royalty has to be paid to the musician. So, fair taxation. So these are the stuff. Supply chain, I'll go into some detail. Supply chain is like your project management. You need, there are full of blind spots in supply chain. If it is a multinational, if it is a cross-organization, cross-country, it is even more full of blind spots. Information disconnect, lack of authenticity. Blockchain can illuminate the whole process. So from supplier to manufacturer, distribution. So, supply chain is a very classical application of blockchain. 70% of the cost and 100% of revenue depend on supply decision. It is vital to be able to manage supply chain efficiently. So if you can imagine a well-run, efficient supply chain, then, cost can be reduced, revenue can be increased. Decision made in one part of supply chain can influence us another. Now, there is a lot of coordination required. The end-to-end supply chain can no longer can be seen from a narrow. It is an end-to-end integrated. It's an end-to-end system. Well, anybody defaulting anywhere something happening, an earthquake happening, you must have some other supply thing. When there is a geopolitical issues, supply chain is an area where blockchain gives visibility, multi-actors, and of course it synchronizes data. Supply chain management tested to its limit in this COVID-19 area. In 2020 November, all the vaccines were tested and you were ready to go, but because of lack of collaboration of complex network and with lack of intelligent supply chain, it couldn't be dished out, distributed. So blockchain was needed. If it was a mature technology, then it could work as the last point, guardian angel, together with AI, IoT, and other technologies to actually ensure good distribution of thing. I mean, AI is extremely important. Machine learning, all this stuff are very important. But altogether, it's a combination of technologies. I'll give an example. In the weaknesses in supply chain was evident. This lady in Australia sits on top of a throne made of boxes containing toilet paper. I think toilet paper ran short, PP, but it was not intentional. She ordered some 40 or something, but he got 40 boxes. And then when the prices rose, she actually could sell the toilet papers to pay for her children's education. And the WHO DG said, without secure supply chains, I mean, all this American Society of Microbiology, this is not enough. I mean, our science that can do only that much. But if you do not have a good supply chain, industry, government cannot act together. I mean, export and import and all this kind of things. And the last point here on the 4, I mean, they could collect testing supply status for both kit Mazula, but ultimately alleviate the debilitating supply chain issues. Unless you address the supply chain issues, all this science and all this invention cannot really work. So I'm giving an example here, how they fit. I mean, blockchain and supply chain, shared immutable information, blockchain from one actor to many. Many people work together in blockchain. Supply chain also needs multiple actors. Shared control, distributed ledger technology. So everyone has the access to the same thing. So shared control and shared governance, because a consensus, unless you agree, it won't be updated. So supply chain is a close fit with supply chain and blockchain. And so is, I think, your project management, because I will tell you about that. And this is a small example that I made out. If you have a supply chain of a fish, katla fish, siloed, inefficient supply chain, the fisherman to transporter to super consumer, supply chain. Now, when the fish was caught, no one knows. When they transported, no one knows. These are all silos. No one knows. It arrived at the market and consumer brought in 9. But there is no link. If you have a manual versus digitized versus blockchain-based digital, then what happens? In a manual system, it is a siloed. No information or delayed and not dependable. No one knows what's happening. In digitized system, still a siloed system, some network, some information, but not all, not dependable. You cannot depend on, when it was caught. But if it is a blockchain based, then all relevant information available to each and all and dependable. How is that happen? How does that happen? See, in a blockchain based system, well, everyone has visibility. When the fisherman catches the fish, that's at 4 a.m. When the transporter gets it, he also can see on the blockchain that it was caught at 4 a.m. When the superstore receives it, he knows that it was caught at 4 a.m. and it was put in a van at 5 a.m. and it is here. And when a consumer buys it, they can copy they can just look through a QR code or something, and it will tell you exactly the history of the fish. So blockchain and IoT information technology, internet, IoT information, Internet of Things in food supply chain. Here's a physical flow. The chicken farmers register items. How does IoT help? Well, IoT devices can sense and measure. So wherever the chicken farm is, anything, any conditions, any temperature condition, any humidity condition can be registered there and sent to the system, whole system. Then the producers verify and certify systems. All this information can be then driven to the chain. Then distributors, they have to also use conditions, if it is transported in the right manner, retailing. So this chicken has a digital flow as well. And then the blockchain network, all the hashes are kept, and the person on the right, when he gets, it could be chicken from one country to another, he can click a QR code and see it. Okay, now this is a, 9:10. I mean, 3-minute video of tuna traceability and transparency and blockchain. Can I, well, I think I'll skip that because, if I have time in the end, it is a 3-minute video in which what happens, a fisherman called Zafar, he catches the tuna fish, and how he catches it by hand line.
I think we have the luxury to, have a 3 minutes for your video, right? So, Atiq bhai, we cannot hear you. I think we have lost him again. So stay tuned. I think it's when you are running Zoom on Apple, why we cannot hear you? We cannot hear you. জি আমরা আপনাকে শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। আপনি আবার লগ আউট করে লগ ইন করতে পারেন বস। I think it's a Apple issue. Sometimes Apple creates a problem with Zoom.
But iPad এ বোধহয় আমি আমার কানেক্টিং বলছে share content. Sorry, একটু কি আবার start broadcast.
I make you
जी जी okay sure thank you
you like
जी 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 মানে কোনখান থেকে
if you like we can watch your video.
আচ্ছা sure আমি তাহলে দিচ্ছি এখানে sure okay thank you
আপনার এই দিকে ইনফো we are
আমি ভিডিওটা অন করলাম
but there is a echo from your end.
ও আচ্ছা বিকজ আপনার ওই ফোনে আছি তো আমি তাহলে ফোনটা অফ করে দিই
Saya Jafar, saya sebagai nelayan. Saya Jafar, saya sebagai nelayan. Saya di Laut Indonesia, saya lagi mencari tuna sirip kuning.
Could you please make full screen?
জি
The first fish joined 1,000 others here at the receiving plant. The scanner is the first step in capturing information about how and where the fish are caught. That info is stored in the cloud and enters a secure blockchain.
It makes me feel proud about myself. You can prove that your fish come from the right source.
Now this is the safety story. Here in this independent laboratory, we test the food safety of the product. The data is instantly available. In the past, I had to search for data, and now it's there at the stroke of a keyboard. The data generated in this laboratory is fed up to the blockchain. It is then available to the premier restaurants and retailers in the United States. I take the responsibility very personally. I never want someone to get sick.
Here we are at the finishing part. The last step before this fish gets to your table. What's incredible is that we track every piece of fish. And we share that information and that transparency with the people who will end up eating this fish. We have our first look at the new blockchain analytics for the supplier. Let's go through and see Jafar's fish. And it pulls up the amount of fish he's caught on every day, how much they weighed, and how much was fair trade.
It's a lot of data.
This is connected to the SAP blockchain. It's based on permissions, so only specific suppliers will give access to their specific data.
Nice.
Aku jadi pingin nelayan Indonesia untuk selama-lamanya. Saya Jafar, saya bisa membagikan pekerjaan saya kepada dunia.
জি জি শিওর আমার স্ক্রিন কি আপনারা দেখতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ, দেখতে পাচ্ছি ভাই।
শিওর শিওর ওকে। তো ওটা হয়ে গেল আপনার ওই যে জাস্ট একটা এসএপি ব্লকচেইনে কেমন করে ফিশ করছে। আচ্ছা, সাপ্লাই চেইন আরো অনেক এক্সাম্পল আছে, আমি এটা খুব শর্ট করে বলি। ডায়মন্ডে প্রচুর মানে ফেক টেক হয়, নানান ধরনের অল কাইন্ডস অফ mistrust and loss of tax revenue. So there are Everledger is a solution to that. Of course, blockchain solution providers, there are a number. I mean, the hundreds and thousands, but I mentioned some here: IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Everledger, VChain, Walton Chain, Hedera, Hashgraph. So what do they do? The leading player, IBM is the leading player, Microsoft, well, Azure, then Amazon, AWS, Google Cloud, Everledger, Diamond. VChain is a supply chain based on cryptocurrency. So the customers are here: Walmart, Maersk, Diamond Industry, Walmart China, and of course the models, blockchain as a service, BaaS. So it could be a cloud-based service, and you can actually, connect to that and will use it. Well, Hyperledger is a private consortium, is a private blockchain. Ethereum is a public chain. Hyperledger and tool chain. But there are thousands, there are hundreds. All kinds of innovations are going on now, and some use cases. Well, DHL uses supply chain management. Maersk uses supply chain management. In education, of course, education is a key area where blockchain can work. I mean, we have to educate ourselves and educate for gainful employment, and it has to be a relevant education. Blockchain, number 7 point, enables all above. So what does it enable? From broadcast to participatory. One person broadcast and everybody listens, it's not that. And you can have custom education, from mass education, from one size does not fit all. Shift to collaborative rather than hierarchical education. In education, there are many examples. So blockchain can enable decentralized, disaggregated education. I mean, you can see that on your own time. And every student can have an incorruptible and verified ledger of one's credentials, competences, skills, achievements for sharing with anyone. So if I want to apply, if a person wants to apply, he doesn't need to go back to Dhaka University or Jahangirnagar University to check whether the certificate is okay. So we can have smart, secure education systems, smart school colleges, and it's a need of the hour. I mean, I talked to some university with EGC and other. I presented it, and incremental is we can have incremental. Some blockchain can incrementally sovereign ID for all, existing credential authentication, and disruptive is decentralized education as such. I mean, university tokenized incentive learning, on-demand, lifelong learning. The mode of learning can be changed. There are many examples. I mean, University of Nicosia, Block.co are doing that from 2017. They give certificates through blockchain. There is another one. I mean, you can actually go to this on your Google website, blockeducate.com. They have done on an SAS model. And then Dubai, BOID with Nicosia, they're doing the same thing. BitDegree is another venture which is using blockchain technology to give, in the education sector. BlockCerts, it's an MIT Media Lab venture. And, previously we used to have Mozilla Open badges. I don't know if you know that, 2011, it used to give you micro credentials, which are digital badges, but not blockchain based. Now, BlockCerts gives you very high stake degree, like university degree, diploma, transcripts, all that. So we can reimagine education in a digitally connected world. I won't go more on this. Well, IoT is a very important thing, Internet of Things. People are connected on Internet, things are connected on Internet, people talk to each other, people talk to things, things talk to things. So IoT is a tremendously growing thing. I mean, it is expected that 50 billion devices will be connected, Internet connected. And as this number continues to grow, the hackers, breach your data through a single connected device. Now, a blockchain is a technology which can be used to make sure that the data breaches do not happen. There are some use cases. HYPR, it uses blockchain to make IoT devices tamper-proof. It uses a true passwordless authentication feature. Nowadays, we use password to get into things, but people are experimenting with that FID or fast identity online. I'm just mentioning this because the effort is on so that you don't have to have password. If I can get into a system with ease, that's easier but secure. So HYPR, and then there's another IoT example, XAGE, that's also in energy transportation. All the IoT devices are different in different sectors. So they focus on energy transportation manufacturing so that the IoT devices give data which is fair and not hacked or whatever. Smart contracts are nothing but computer code which executes the contract. So if you have a FDR and then the bank cuts your interest and pays the tax or whatever, it is like a smart contract. If you go to a vending machine, you buy a Coke, then you put in 100 taka, it knows if you put 100 taka or whatever, then you press a number, then out comes a Coke. So smart contract is nothing but it's coded contract. So if the agreement between two people can be represented in a smart contract, it can automatically happen. Invoice is sent, everything is fine, then invoice can be paid automatically. This is happening in the retail area. Smart contracts are blockchain-based contracts enforced in real time by computer code. It is now a staple in healthcare, real estate, and government agencies. I mean, it has got now. Let me talk about on-chain, off-chain smart contracts and oracles. This oracle is a feed. Well, what is on-chain? If you have a chain, if you are a project manager, you are on a chain, then on-chain data is something that you can rely on, blocked and chained. Now, if you need off-chain data, for example, you need some data to trigger a smart contract, then that comes from outside. If there was a bet, if it is between two football teams, then the data has to come from outside. That's through the manual free from outside. Now there are companies on the 0.6 Chainlink which provides services which can feed outside data into the chain so that the smart contract can work. So if there is a change in the data, that data feed can come through that. Smart contract use cases in healthcare, Burst IQ, they facilitate transfer of data between patient and doctors through smart contract. Not all data will go to the doctor, whatever is required. Property is a real estate. Here, title registry system automates all transactions. And it's a blockchain technology. So it allows buying, selling of properties. Well, they can also use cryptocurrency. So everywhere there are applications. Identity, well, Switzerland is called the crypto valley, like Silicon Valley in California. Zug is a place in Switzerland where they have, this ID through blockchain. And number 3 point, they can use it for all government services, for city of casting votes and accessing government services. And it's their own sovereign identity. When I say sovereign identity, it is there with them. I have a little box in which all information is here. If I allow, somebody can see it. In music, I won't labor on it. it's the way music is produced, bought and sold. Here also blockchain, is being used. And blockchain, there are two examples. There are many examples. Well, Artbit and RDS, you can go there and see how they are doing it. The middleman is being cut, and musicians have paid the right royalty. Now, setting the stage for blockchain and project management. This is the where I wanted to explore. Now, project management, as I show you on the right-hand side on the bottom, of course, your initiation, your definition, planning, then launching it in the performance and closing it. What blockchain does, it throws light on the whole process. It throws light on the whole process. So this is the future PMN has to be blockchain and forward technology. You must use technology, but technology can be used to ease your work. So if you are a project manager and AI can help sort things out, AI can help, because human beings have cognitive limitations. If you have many reports to see, if you have many things to see, if AI can help you find out, which is the most important, which is most, exceptional reporting or whatever, so then you must use that. And it is a team sport. So blockchain is a team sport, project management is a team sport. So they are actually for each other. And the digital transformation that we are talking about, you must have reliable data. Otherwise, digital transformation won't work. Software will eat the world, as I mentioned. Blockchain will make software reliable. So technology adept project managers will be at the core of this transformation. The future project manager, for him, data is a key decision partner. But how do you handle data? How do you manage data? PMO will have to use AI, IoT, ML, DL, whatsoever, to churn more and more data. Who gives authenticity to this data? Blockchain will give authenticity to this data. I saw in your, flat, fluid, and agile. I think, Sunil Prashara, your CEO, president, talked about all kinds of things. So blockchain can champion flat, fluid, and agile. Agile project management, of course, is iterative. And if you have a blockchain based project management system in which everyone has visibility on the whole system, everyone agrees to the whole system, then, it becomes a more successful project management. If it is cross-organizational, then there is no way that you can ignore blockchain. It is an ideal fit for any cross-organization complex project management. But you have to use your, whatever exercise to have the governance done, because governance is key. Coordination is key. Unless all people agree, you cannot have blockchain projects. So, I think, in your pulse of the profession, I saw gymnastic enterprises which can flex and pivot within the structure, form, and governance. So, blockchain can actually, if there is anything happening, any change happening, it's visible to all. Any actor in the whole chain, project management, they have peer-to-peer, they have secure data. No one can say that, I did not send this data. So, data is correctly sent, data is correctly represented, and agility, because it can collaborative efforts can be so much more. So PM and BC, feature correspondence. So I have listed 7. So desired PM features, you want visibility, you want effective collaboration. Blockchain can give that through decentralized peer-to-peer, synchronized updation after consensus, distributed technology, accountability. Each person in the project management kind of arena. Now, there are use of private and public key. No one can deny. Every data is secure and user authenticated, and ensuring task completion of all actors. Everybody will know about it. If the marketing team has done something, the sales immediately knows about it. Everyone else knows about it. So there cannot be any delay, lag in the information. I didn't know that he finished. So data security, true state of affairs. You want the true state of affairs at all times to be agile. What is happening? Inherent data protection through cryptography has enabled immutability. So because data is immutable, you cannot have any disconcert, any disputes. You track, monitor progress. So consensus before data is updated. This eliminates reconciliation, ensures information synchronized at all times. You want to monitor the milestones and provide incentive for good work. That's very easy. Performance measured against performance metrics. All team members' achievements can be recorded in a sovereign and privacy preserving way. And what is privacy preserving way? The privacy is respected as much as is required, and incentives provided through tokenization. As what is tokenized, as I mentioned, you can have will reward points, this and another. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, tokenization, token economics is a big thing. And finalization of status reports, smart contract can trigger approval and submission of the project reports. And automatic payment to vendors, there can be third parties, through smart contract and feeds, work completion feeds, such can be done automatically, faster, better vendor relation. Well, epilogue. So at the end, blockchain matters, but new technology, excitement and skepticism is equally there. Blockchain accessibility, some countries have provided favorable backdrop, others have created massive roadblocks, but increasingly more countries are falling into it. This 4IR technology means we have to live with technology. So this is a symbolic. I mean, if I was a interviewee, I would see robots in front of me and left them. I mean, this is a little bit dramatic, but this will happen. But this is the idea. Why should Bangladesh embrace blockchain? This is a country. Country is what? People. We have 20% of it under national poverty, and then this COVID-19 has meant more. And many people, they live in slums, and Dhaka alone has 3.5 million. So a country cannot be happy without unhappy people, And the most vulnerable must be addressed. We must focus on welfare of our people and and technology comes to serve us, not to dominate us. And most vulnerable must benefit from this technology. Technology, blockchain will automate away and eliminate. What it will automate away? It will eliminate corruption, which is good. It will eliminate inefficiency, which is good, but it will also eliminate jobs. So first is welcome, second is not. So how we have to be innovative as a country, as a Bangladeshi, to how we can actually adopt technology so that we don't leave people behind. You must have government policies. Retraining is one easy, but government policies must be there so that people can become entrepreneurs very easily. This country must be a heaven for small entrepreneurs, for single entrepreneurs. I mean, there are a lot of restrictions, a lot of regularity, this, that, and other. So we cannot jump from a frying pan to fire. So technology is welcome, but technology in the right manner. Fair digital Bangladesh, trillions of dollars of bribes around the world. Corruption is like cancer. I mean, we have this government spending, and spending is, all kinds of inefficiency here. Bangladesh, number 4 point, should be run like a well-oiled IT company. Like Amazon, you one click and you get your order. I mean, one click, I should get my birth certificate. So it can happen. Dubai is going towards that. Individual will have services, government and others, online at their fingertips. We'll have then emancipated Bangladesh, blockchain-powered digital Bangladesh. So imagine blockchain can help the world heal. World Economic Forum said it is one of the top 10 emerging technologies. Blockchain concept may mutate, may change, but no one will know that it exists. The data validity, the data correctness, the data confidence will be there. Blockchain neither blocks nor it changes, it frees you. And I have a tagline, "Ei chain, shei chain noy, shei chain dai dashatto, ei chain dai mukti." In English, it is called "This chain is not that chain enslaves, this chain liberates." Well, thank you for listening. Ji.
Thank you very much, Atiq bhai. We are overwhelmed by your presentation, and last 1.5 hours was just too much wonderful. So before barging you questions or start the question answer session, I think you need little bit of break. In the meantime,
no, I've got 5.
Okay. So in the meantime, we can share our happy faces if we turn on our video and see the faces, happy faces. We'll click it and then I think then we can have some smiley faces together. And
take a picture or something.
Yes, I think we can take a picture. Everyone is smile. This is called money shot. Few months ago, I learned that this is called money shot. That you can smile. Huh? you have to think about that. In front of you, there is a $100 note, so you can smile like this. So anyway.
जी.
So I think Naushava is taking our selfies. So did you take Naushava?
I'm taking the selfies. I think I need 20 more seconds.
Okay, okay. We are still smiling. So we got some question. I think some question from the chat box. If I mention that, first is Mr. Reza Rabbi. His question was, how can blockchain make impact on marketing strategies?
Acha. Reza Rabbi. Okay. On marketing strategies. Okay. I mean, blockchain gives you, but in marketing strategy, of course, you know, if it is a marketing strategy that has to be developed with concert with many people or many departments, then blockchain is a community, is a shared thing. If you do not need to share information or coordinate information amongst parties, then blockchain does not quite come into its real metal. So if the marketing strategy is done by yourself, then of course, but if the marketing strategy is a crossover function in which, you know, many, then of course blockchain can help. But, you know, of course, I mean, it has to be the whole game. I mean, the marketing strategy, then the execution of that, and then, you know, the result and monitoring of the result, then all this, then blockchain will make good sense. You see, it's a transaction-oriented, if it is a transaction-oriented system in which shared information is required, that's where blockchain excels.
Thank you, Atiq. The second question was from Mr. Sundaram Muthukumar Swami. How does the second block number gets generated?
The second block. Okay, no, fine, that's fine. I mean, see, well, every time, okay, the first block is a Genesis block. So a transaction happens and somebody validates it, and then it becomes a valid block. And then when the second block comes along, the new transaction, once a block is closed, it cannot be reopened. So the second block, any more transaction comes to the second block. Now the second block has the first block's identity stamped in it, and this identity plus the new transaction is put through a cryptographic hash function. Out comes an ID for the second block. That's how when the second block is validated. So the two blocks are now in a chain, and the third block comes along. So it's a incrementally and the state of affairs is being passed on. That hash ID contains the truth so far. So the second block and the third block and subsequent blocks are created once the previous block has been validated and linked.
Okay, thank you. Then next question is from our member Muhammad Sogir. Sogir Bhai has asked that how a non-technical mid-level supply chain. Hello.
If you don't mind, I want to take the floor to ask a question. Before that, I want to add something.
Sure.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Atiq Bhai, so much enlightening us with covering such important topics to us, and also thanking to PMI Bangladesh chapter for arranging such nice session. I work for Walmart Global Sourcing, so I'm very much delighted that you put in the name about our Walmart food supply chain. So as you just mentioned, that Walmart has been working with IBM on food supply chain blockchain solution that is adding more transparency and decentralization on food supply chain ecosystem. So I have two questions actually related to this. First question is, it is not related to this food supply chain. The question that I put it here is how a non-technical mid-level supply chain and project management guy can contribute in an organization where he can see or his organization is planning to implement blockchain technology, or how he can enrich with the know-how or leverage his existing competencies with blockchain technologies. So this is my first question.
Okay. Shall I answer that? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, sure. No, sure. But I think the issue is one must have domain knowledge to come out with a solution. So you may be a non-technical person, but you have to be involved in the team so that the blockchain-based digital solution is appropriate for the project or for the task in hand. So I think of course blockchains, as mentioned, there can be blockchain as a service. There are many solution providers. So a non-technical person can actually be in a group which does the research. What solution is there? Because you do not need to do everything from scratch. So the non-technical person, rich in domain expertise, can play a very big role together with the technology people to find a solution to the problem. Problem has to be defined. The coordination matrix has to be defined. The governance model has to be defined. Which are the nodes? Who contributes what? How do they? Because this is most likely to be a private blockchain. So in a private blockchain, all these coordination governance issues are required. So here, of course, some knowledge, some appreciation of blockchain technology is required, but not deep dive. You don't have to really know the insides of how proof of work is done on this, that, and other. So I think that is how non-technical person should play a role.
Okay, thank you. May I ask my second questions?
Sure.
Okay, so it's related to the first one, that food supply chain I was mentioning. So as a layman, I want to understand in a very nutshell that how retailer like Walmart is implementing blockchain in food supply chain, especially like we are focusing on mango supply chain, a blockchain implementation, at the same time a pork supply chain blockchain implementation. And if country like Bangladesh, as we are rich in exporting mango and we have a huge potentiality to export to global market, how a country like Bangladesh can focus on implementing or adapting blockchain technology implemented in such product like mango or any kind of this kind of, even we have product like cashew nut is coming.
Cashew nut, sure. But I think what will happen is IBM and Walmart will have designed and created the system. They will now reach out to the Bangladeshi counterpart, the farmers or whatever, to actually be part of the system, so that whenever it is grown, all the needs, all the information that is needed are put on the kind of database, the blockchain database, as soon as it is done. And they also have to have mechanism to authenticate it. And it could be authentication can be done through devices or can be done through third parties. So, so everybody in the chain has to give authentic and proper information, from the grower of mango to the shipper of mango, whatever. So everybody in the chain, so that the Walmart, the person buying mango from Walmart in USA, whatever, can immediately, if they want, click a QR code and see the whole story, trace the whole thing. So it is actually that has, I know the story of Walmart or IBM doing it. There was a case in which they had E. coli or something like in lettuce, which was, they had to withdraw a group of lettuce, but they had to, wait a long time. They had to, spend weeks and weeks to do that. But if you have blockchain, they could actually pinpoint which farmer, which batch it came from, then that could be traced back to whatever shelf it was in. It could be taken away immediately. It could have been avoided. So, blockchain gives you the visibility, the traceability to, in food, it is extremely important. Mango or pork or whatever, if it is being done like the fish, if it is being farmed in the right manner, given the right, fertilizer or whatever, everything can be put on the system. So this is how I think, and IBM and Walmart are doing, tremendous things, I think.
Thank you.
Atiq bhai, I think I will name one startup regarding agricultural blockchain is called AgriChain from India.
Okay.
AgriChain.
Okay.
So they have a nice application developed by blockchain.
Okay. So, I'm sure.
So next question will go. We have a time constraint. So next question is from Mashrurul Haq. Mr. Hawk, will you talk or I will read out your question?
No, you can read. Thank you.
Okay. So the question is, if there is no update or delete facility, what if someone put a wrong data, and what about the mistakes? That is the first question. And second question is that how does it change? And wrongfully first time, if it is put, then how it will be validated?
Okay. I mean, you see, can I give an example of a journal entry in accounting? I mean, there are two ways you can say I have spent 1,000 taka for entertainment. So I, debit entertainment and credit cash. If it was a wrong thing, then I could do two things. I could go and say it was not entertainment, it was repair. So I could just, delete it or edit it and change entertainment into repair, and then debit, repair, credit, cash. I'm to give an example. Or I could nullify that and reverse it to zero, and then enter the new journal entry. Now, blockchain takes the second philosophy. So once, for example, a transaction was recorded in a block. Now, the transaction cannot be recorded in a block unless it is validated, verified by the parties, the nodes, the governance mechanism. Once it is done, if it is wrong or if it is something has to be changed, then a new edition has to be done. And the edition can nullify the old thing and put in the new one, or do something. But you cannot change, you cannot edit or delete whatever has been put in the blocks. That is the concept of the block. Once a block is done, is a cryptographic hash. This cryptographic hash won't accept any change. And this cryptographic hash ID is the last say in the thing. So that is how updates. So any update can be accommodated, but in the next block. And so if there is any mistake, I mean, of course, so this validation by 100. So for example, I talked about, Avai Paragram, 200 people. If somebody sold his land to someone else, then everybody, 200 people agree, it has been sent. So in a similar way, in a technological way, all the blockchain validators, they're called differently in different chains. They must, it's not one man show, it is not two man show, it's a group, it's a community thing. So, if it is wrong, of course, after even all that, then you have to add the new addition or the change, but it cannot be changed. So, this is what it is. I mean, in a digital world, you have to do no repudiation. You cannot go back and say, sorry, I made a mistake, so can I change the whole block? You cannot do that.
Thank you. Explained well.
Thank you. I have another question that is from Mr. Sadekul Goni. He was asking that how the confidentiality of the business information in organization will be maintained through blockchain.
Okay, sure. You see, that is why the private blockchain thing has come out. And also in public blockchain, there are all kinds of innovations. Even in Bitcoin, there is innovation through Lightning Network. But how is it that done? In a private blockchain, say for example, there are 20 people, 20 nodes, they share all the information. Now, if you have A and B doing something which only makes sense among them, they can have a channel to do their transaction, and then the secrecy, the confidentiality is kept, and then whatever can be, if it does not affect anybody else, whatever can be exposed or can be given to other people only be given. So confidentiality is being maintained through what are called channels. These channels connect the parties to the confidential transaction.
Thank you very much. I have a last question. From the chat box, most probably from my end. What is the disadvantage of blockchain, and what is the future? That was asked by Tanvi Numan. So if you get a little bit of light on it.
Sure. Of course, any technology is evolving, has got limitations. As I mentioned to you, I mean, blockchain lives in a centralized, decentralized continuum. Public blockchain is very decentralized, meaning, there are thousands of people who has to agree, the nodes who agree before a block, any an updation happens. So it takes time. So decentralization means it's secure, but it is slow. Now, they are trying to make it so that it is decentralized, secure, and also faster. Innovations are happening. It's like, for example, if I say a thing to 100 people and then I want to change it, then I have to manipulate 100 people to change it. That is not easy. So security is high, decentralization, but it is slow because, we have to get 100 people to agree to it. So blockchain limitation is there. The trilemma I mentioned, it is slow, but, and of course, adaptability of blockchain. And there is a tremendous allergy towards cryptocurrency because, government and nations are naturally, very rightly worried about currency regulation, this, that, and other, and of course, they do not want any money laundering, this, that, and other. They have to be sure. But the problem is, it is not very easy to understand the technology and things. So naturally, there is a mismatch. So the limitations are the technological limitations and also limitations of people understanding it. And it is there. It's there for every technological evolution. But I think it will be overcome. And, I can say you that, Ministry of ICT has a blockchain strategy. And although there is a lot of, reservation about Bitcoin and other things, but I think Bangladesh is going ahead. And I think, Bangladesh, that country, should really go ahead and, know about it. I mean, whether you adopt things, but you can adopt things in supply chain, in your project management, in your, other things, land records everywhere. So limitations are there, but there are many innovations happening. We only need to do research, nothing else. We don't have to really be doing it from scratch. But thank you.
Thank you, Atiq bhai. I think I will, I think I will not allow any question more.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I mean, also it is, I think, long hour.
Okay.
So
yeah, sure.
if anyone want to ask any question, just raise. I will take another question from if anyone. Otherwise, I will close it for today. And
okay.
I'm not saying anyone anyway. So thank you, Atiq bhai. We have it was a knowledge gathering session from you, and I know you as a speaker, you are unparalleled. So
thank you. Thank you very much.
This is our appreciation from PMI Bangladesh chapter. Just a certificate to you, and it's a note of thanks. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You are always welcome. You are always welcome, and feel free to join our session in any time you want. So we will be hearing from you in future as well. So in another note, Atiq-e-Rabbani bhai also has a extensive course for the blockchain who want to learn the details about it. So they can also contact with him for I think further. He has a long session and long detailed session. That's I should say.
Okay. Thank you.
So, thank you everyone. Thank you for joining. For PMI members and our participants, I have shared the PDU code with you today in the chat box. Please, you can use it straight away, or you will get into the mail along with the presentation. And another thing I want to mention here that during this pandemic time, we always was engaged yourself into this virtual session. Will continue till for few another months until unless PMI allowed us to join a in-person movement. When the PMI will allow in-person events, we will go straight to the in-person and the event straight away. So thank you for your participation today. Thank you, Atiq bhai, for your kind and enough presence. So goodbye. Allah Hafiz. Shabbat khair.